Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this masterclass. I'm Alistair Cole, CEO and co-founder of Revenue Coach. This session is being recorded and broadcast live on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Revenue Coach is a new coaching platform that demystifies the sales process for founders and accelerates startup growth. Today is the fourth masterclass in our new series, where we're exploring some of the current challenges in the workplace, specifically for sales professionals. And today's topic is chasing no to get to yes. And we're delighted to be joined by Andrea Waltz today, who is the co-founder of Courage Crafters Incorporated and co-author of the best-selling book, Go for No, Yes is the Destination, No is How You Get There. Co-authored with Richard Fenton. It's been an Amazon top 50 sales book for the last 10 years. Welcome, Andrea.
Hey, Alistair. So good to be with you today.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here live from Orlando and Florida. So thanks for getting up early and sharing your expertise in this area.
Absolutely.
Before we get started on Go for No and overcoming rejection, I've got a couple of questions I'd like to pitch to you so we can learn a little bit about you as a person. The first is, who is your number one person to follow in business?
Man, I follow so many people, mostly because of Twitter. Twitter has made it so easy. So I have curated so many lists, but just off the top of my head, one of my favorites is, I love following Gary Vaynerchuk, who is, social media, well-known in social media. But one of my favorites has become Tom Bilyeu, and he is the founder of Quest Nutrition. He talks a lot about growth mindset and also some strategies and tactics, but he's really big on mindset. So I'd probably say Tom Bilyeu for that one.
Okay, I don't know him. Can you spell his surname? Is that put you on?
It's a weird spelling. I think it's Bilyeu. I believe that's how it's spelled.
Okay. I'll look him up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Second question: what's the single most useful resource that's helped you along your way during your career?
I would say, there's always technology, and that's helpful. But I think the biggest resource is probably groups that I've been a part of. So right off the top of my head, Women's Sales Pros is a group I'm in, and I've been a part of kind of loosely for years and years. National Speakers Association I've been a part of, and it's just people. It's groups, really, I think that have been the biggest resource that I've learned the most from. It's other people.
Yeah, that makes sense. We recently acquired or were granted B Corp certification. There's actually it's the network. I'm finding that the network and the community there is really fantastic. So that makes sense. And when those groups don't have the answer, where do you, or maybe they answer it, where do you go for inspiration when you get stuck?
I'm such a Twitter person. I go to Twitter. I go to Twitter for everything. And I like it because I can search for, you can search for things you're looking for. And there's so many people posting interesting research articles. So that, and LinkedIn as well. And so, it's social media. That's been, as much as I know social media is a hang up and an obstacle, I think, in some cases for all of us from a time standpoint. It's been such a game changer in terms of being able to just find interesting people and resources.
Yeah, I have to admit, I absolutely love Twitter. I think the combination, I find it hilarious, right? People are
Yeah.
so funny, the memes and the jokes. I think it's really funny, and then it's interspersed with business. And I think
Mhm.
obviously what's happened recently with Elon Musk is just fascinating watching that unfold.
It's
And
fascinating.
I'm completely all in with American politics and following that. And obviously we had midterms and
Oh,
what's happening with, and then you've got this intersection of Trump on Twitter, and so I'm loving Twitter right now. I can't get enough. So I hear you.
it's fascinating. And I just have to add too, that's the thing with Twitter though, you can curate your own experience.
Yeah,
If you can follow the people you want to follow, you can block the people you don't want to hear from, you can create lists, and that's what I do. So I can go on Twitter and have any experience I want to have, which I think
yeah,
that sometimes is missed.
yeah. And then interspersed with some great tips from founders and expert like yourself and other whitelist sources of white papers. It's a great all-round experience, and I'm fingers crossed that it's not going anywhere. I don't think it is. So so that's cool. And your book, okay? How many copies have you sold so far?
So we estimate that it's at this point over 500,000 sold. And that's because, and I say estimate because we're not in bookstores, so we don't get this perfect count, but we've been on Amazon now for 12, 13 years. So we know
Yeah.
Amazon counts and our counts. So yeah, we're about 500,000 at least. And
Okay.
the goal is to sell 1 million.
Well, you've got to aim high, right? So
Yes.
that's fantastic. Well, maybe you get a few more sales off the back of today and edge towards the seven figures.
Right.
Um, and then coming back, last question. So I seen on social media that you posted that your dog performs 5 times better than you on Instagram, which is like no surprise. People love pets. Certainly in the UK, they love pets. What's the name of your dog?
Peppers.
Peppers. Okay. Peppers. Okay, I shall look out for Peppers on Instagram, wrapped up in something warm or otherwise.
Yeah, Peppers after a bath, Peppers before getting fed. Yeah, she's hysterical.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm super keen to dive into uh, chasing no to get to yes, and my co-founder and one of my best friends, Kieran Gill, he's a super experienced frontline B2B sales guy. And he and I often chat about chasing the no's and how important that is. And he's educated me on how important that is. And that felt like a very alien concept to me to start with. How does that work? How can you chase no in order to get to yes?
Right. So there's I think a misunderstanding about no and yes and failure and success, which we conflate and we merge together those two concepts in our book Go for No. We equate no with failure. Everybody gets a no, you think you failed. So we talk a lot about failure and success in general terms, but the reason why you can chase no to get to yes is that yes and no, most people think are complete opposites. That if you want to hear more yeses, you go after yes. But in
Yeah,
fact, if you want to get more yeses, you have to be willing to hear more no's, that they are not opposites. They are opposite sides of the same coin. They're really a package deal. And when you avoid one, when you avoid hearing no, when you avoid rejection, when you avoid failure, you're actually avoiding opportunities for success, opportunities for yeses, interesting things to happen. It's like that old saying. Well, let me give you an example. And this is like the perfect illustration, I think, of having a go for no mindset versus a go for yes mindset. And this is where opportunities come into play. Let's say you go to a networking meeting and you want to meet people for your business. You want to make those connections, have those opportunities. And so what often happens back in the day, maybe pre-COVID, is you'd go and let's say you'd have 10 conversations and you'd get 10 business cards. And then you would come back to your office or home and you start looking through the cards and you start kind of filtering them through a go for yes mindset. And what happens is you look through that go for yes mindset and you say, out of these 10 cards, I would say 5 of them, the conversations were just so, and I bet they wouldn't go anywhere. I bet that nothing would come of having a relationship with this person or reaching out to them or taking the next step. So I'm just gonna put these 5 cards aside. And now you're left with 5 more cards. And so you look through those 5 and you say, out of these 5, who do I think is gonna say yes? Who's gonna be the easy yes? What's gonna happen? And so you start kind of thinning those out as well. And you say, well, this conversation, this isn't going to be good. And so you put that one aside. And by the time you get done with the whole analysis, meaning you're making all these assumptions, you're prejudging what will happen in the future, who will say yes to you, it comes down to maybe where you have 1 or 2 cards left to call, reach out to, and see if there's some synergy there. So you've taken this great opportunity of all these connections and all these potential yeses. And because you don't want to hear no, and some people might argue, well, I don't want to waste my time. Well, there was a reason you took the card. And so let's not go there. Let's not prejudge and make assumptions. You filter through a go for yes mindset. And so when we filter through a go for no mindset, we take those 10 cards and say, we don't know where the yes is here. Let's reach out to all 10. And if they all turn out to be no's, great. If they all turn out to be whatever, but the point is to take the action and focus on our activity. So in essence, that chasing of the no doesn't mean that you're begging. It doesn't mean that you're desperate, to get a yes. It means that we're not avoiding.
Okay, and I think that's a great analogy because we've all been there. There's 10 things you could do, and we gravitate towards the one that we prefer. It's less painful. So, would you recommend then that from that stack of 10 business cards that I should I be picking the one that I think is most likely to be no?
Yeah, absolutely. And here's why. And I've never been asked this question, by the way. I've shared this example many times, but it's a great question. So why would you want to, and you could start with the one that you think is going to say no. And the reason for that is practice. And too many times when we're going for yes, when we have this yes mindset, we're picking and choosing who we're going to talk to in those opportunities. And so that conversation and the approach becomes so important. Because remember, now you're going for yes, and you've decided, I really need this yes, I want this yes. So you're not just giving yourself the opportunity to practice and say, I'm not going to even put any assumptions on myself to be perfect or to have this, this perfect presentation. I'm just going to remove all the assumptions, take action, reach out to this person and see what happens. So yeah, now you could be surprised. And it could be something that you didn't expect. It could absolutely be the no that you did expect, but you gained something, which is practice. And most people who are afraid of rejection, that's their biggest Achilles heel, is instead of, they work on becoming unafraid of rejection, which is very difficult to do, right? Because that fear is deeply embedded in our psyche and our DNA. So they work so hard to become unafraid, which what they need to be doing is working hard on becoming okay with being imperfect. It's a whole different mindset. And when you become okay with being imperfect, then you take action a lot more. You have more experiences, you have more opportunities. And then you end up building your skills on the back end as a result of that.
Yeah. And so this is why we talk about chasing the no's, right? Going after them to experience that rejection and overcome it. How many no's do we need to get before we can get to yes? I mean,
that's a great question. I wish I knew the answer to that.
Yeah.
It's always, well, here's what I found in my experience. Let me just answer for myself. So everything takes longer than you think. It's usually more no's than you think it will be. I think for most of us, we're especially in business, especially startups and entrepreneurs, we're an optimistic bunch by nature. If we weren't, we probably wouldn't be in the business we're in. So we start off and we say like, okay, well, we're going to show this many people our offer and this many people will take it. And it's usually a much higher than we think. The conversion rate is usually much better. And we don't plan on those dips, those obstacles, the fact that we have to be persistent. So I love that you asked the question, because it's a fair question. How many no's does it take? And if most people knew how many no's that it took in any endeavor, they wouldn't start. Most actors, if they found out that they had to go on 700 auditions, maybe wouldn't be so keen on that. Writers who find out that they're going to have to they're going to have to send tons of manuscripts out to editors, and most salespeople, if they knew, hey, this is how many doors you're going to need to knock on, this is how many times you're going to need to follow up. Sometimes it's mind-blowing. People hear like, hey, you need to follow up 5, 6, 8, 9 times. They think, well, no, it should be, I should just make the offer, make the ask. And it depends on your strategy, but generally speaking, you need to hear no a lot more. And so that's part of that go for no mindset, is understanding that no is part of that process. And when you have the data, when your numbers are there and you're going for no often enough, then that can teach you and that can help you going forward.
And when that happens, when somebody says no, I find myself taking it very personally. It's not no about the product or the service I'm selling. It's no to me. Why can you unpack that for us? Why does it feel so personal?
Absolutely. So there's two things that we found, and I've been studying this now for 20 years. So this is my own experience, but it's what I've seen unfold for salespeople and people in every business and every industry. And I posted this, actually, I think you reposted it on LinkedIn, about all of the different areas of the world that I've heard from people regarding fear of rejection.
Yeah.
And there are places where I couldn't find some of them on a map if you gave me, a map of the globe. So this is first of all, it's a universal issue. And the reason is it is hardwired in our DNA to not get rejected. And so the trigger for that is we take it personally, meaning that our brains are very sensitive to that rejection and very quickly make it feel physically, because that's how our brain is going to let us know through those instant thoughts, but also physically, that's how our brain is letting us know this is dangerous. You're getting rejected. And so now you're going to feel bad about it. You're going to feel maybe a knot in your stomach, or sick, or literally, in the case of love and romance, sometimes it's painful, because when those signals happen, it is designed to get you to change that, stop the rejection so that you survive. So that's the thing that we have to come to grips with. And it's nothing that we're going to be able to change in days or weeks or even months, because it's part of us. So the important thing is to recognize those feelings and let those feelings kind of move through and be okay with it, and say, oh, I know this is my physical reaction. Kind of like if you were running a marathon and you have all of these physical things happening, and you have to tell yourself, I'm not dying, I'm just exhausted, right? This is just really hard work. It's the same thing. And so once we kind of process those feelings by thinking about it correctly, then the next step is to remember and to try to change how you interpret that rejection. So the first interpretation isn't where it has been, is always, oh no, danger, I'm doing something wrong. You got to stop that interpretation and say, I'm not doing anything wrong. I need to find out, I need to first accept that no gracefully, positively, and then what can I learn from it? And then I need to keep going. Meaning I'm not going to accept my brain's interpretation, which is danger, stop, don't go forward. I'm going to make sure that I'm learning and see if there's any learning here, and then I'm going to keep going forward.
Yeah.
So that instant interpretation is so key. The taking it personally thing is a big part of it. And the only thing I like to say to people about this is, it's not about you even when it's about you, because it's always about the person who's giving you the rejection. And that's something that we really have to remember as well.
Yes. And you talk then something I've read of yours a lot, which is about taking it gracefully. And right now, at the beginning of my journey, that feels like impossible. There's no way I could possibly take it gracefully. How did you make that change?
It's not all that easy either, Alistair. I mean, it's hard for me too, and it's hard for people who have an idea. You have an idea and you create something. You create some kind of product, service, art, physical, like literal art, or some kind of service that is an art. Maybe you're a massage therapist, or you do somebody's makeup, or whatever the skill is. That rejection feels very personal, and it can hurt. So how do you change that? And the way that I have changed it was, first, I read a book called The Four Agreements, which I studied, and I work on it. It's a practice. And the thing about rejection is that you only can really practice handling it when it happens. So if you're avoiding rejection and you're protecting yourself against getting no's, then how do you ever get a chance to practice the skill of handling that, dealing with your emotions, changing your interpretation, handling it gracefully, as you said? And it means putting yourself in it more than is comfortable. So it's literally numbing yourself to that rejection, numbing yourself to no. But I get it. The receiving it gracefully thing is hard, and it just takes a lot of practice to remember that. And this is what I do. I think of all the things that I've rejected in my life, the stuff I haven't liked, the movies I've walked out of, the books I hated, the people that just rubbed me the wrong way, like for whatever reason. And this is just, it's like a weird thing of how it is to be human, right? Sometimes you meet somebody and you just go like, I don't like them. It makes no sense. Other people like them. There's nothing wrong with them. You have a bug, right? You've got some kind of issue. But that's just how it is. People don't like me. I get it. That's cool. And so I try to remember all the stuff I don't like, and then it helps me respect and value other people's opinions.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think sometimes we're critical of ourselves too much, right? And we don't realize, we forget that actually we're rejecting stuff all the time. So it's okay. And that speaks to something else that you talk about a lot, which is the self-criticism, right? And the self-sabotage. And can you dig into that a little bit for me?
Yeah. So self-sabotage is a whole other, we're going to have a whole other masterclass for that. So put a pin in that over there. But so when we started this conversation, I mentioned about failure and success. And there's a reason why it's the bedrock of a go for no strategy, which is you have to change your willingness to fail. And that goes along with this idea of perfectionism and self-criticism. So oftentimes what I have found about myself, but often talking to people, is they say, I have such anxiety picking up the phone, or such anxiety talking to this one person, or I don't want to send this one email to this person. And it all comes back to this fear of judgment. And why is that happening? Where is that coming from? And it's this desire to, one, not mess up in front of somebody. What will that person think of me? Will they think I'm pushy? Will they think I'm aggressive? Will they just think I'm stupid? Like, why am I asking for help? Why am I asking for this? Why am I asking for a raise? Will I look desperate? So it's all what other people think. So we have to let go of our stranglehold on this desire to be perfect.
Yeah.
And so I've told people who struggle with this, and some people have serious challenges with it. I say, you literally have to go out and fail. You have to pick up the phone and have that person hang up on you. It has to happen. It's like somebody saying, if somebody came to us and said, I want to teach my baby how to walk, but here's the thing, they cannot fall. Like we can't have them fall one time. Yeah. And all of us would say, well, that's impossible. You can't teach them to walk without having them fall. They just have to fall on their face. And yeah, try to move the coffee table out of the way so they don't hit their head. Like, let's do some things, but that's going to happen. But as adults, it's like, we don't want to have the experiences, but we want to have the results. Yeah. And it's just not possible. So we've got to embrace failure. And that's why a big part of Go for No, a lot of people don't realize this, so much of it has to do with the idea that you have to embrace that failure and be okay with that imperfection so that you can get better.
And I get that this is something I'm going to have to work on for a number of years in order to get better at it. And for people, attendees to this masterclass today, what would be your recommendation for the one next step, the one thing they could do today or tomorrow, preferably today, that they could do to get started on that journey?
Definitely. I have a couple things. First, create a no awareness, which means look around and ask yourself, how many no's am I getting? Am I, Andrea is suggesting I hear no more often. Do I hear no at all? Like, where are you on the spectrum? Do you like do everything within your power to cherry pick for those yeses, avoid no at all costs? Or do you have those opportunities? Are you having go for no moments, talking yourself out of them? I'm not going to call it. Are you doing the 10 business card thing where you're like, I'm going to talk myself out of it. I'm not going to call this person, not going to do it. They're just going to say no. So create that no awareness. Look at your behavior, analyze where you are now. And it's really important to be honest and open to that. Then the next step is to begin the process of going for no. So I think for 7 days, a fun thing to do is do a 7-day go for no challenge. Go for one no a day. Try to ask for something. It could be personal, so it could be more of a safe no from somebody that you know or trust or who likes you, and just try that. But go for one no a day. So that person who hasn't called you back, that ask that you made that you didn't get the answer to, or somebody who you've been stalling on, pick up the phone, send the email, do the direct message, whatever the technology is, it doesn't matter. This is encompasses all technologies. Just do it. Try to get one no a day. And that is a practice. That is the practice of going for no. It's the practice of putting yourself outside your comfort zone, asking, and amazing things will happen, because you're either going to get more yeses, which is definitely the goal of go for no, make no mistake, or you're going to learn something and you're going to survive. And so you're going to build your resilience and your ability to handle these no's more gracefully. It's the only way. There's no way to think yourself into a go for no lifestyle or go for no business without taking the hard action.
And I love that it's hands-on like that. And as we're kind of wrapping this session up, where can people go to get more on this from you, or immerse more in this topic?
So goforno.com is our website, and we have a couple things. We have a quiz on the website, a 20-question assessment, which people can take to assess where they are in their thinking about failure, rejection, hearing the word no. We have a online course that we created at gofornocourse.com, which is, and that's after you've read the book. I always say people should read the book first, and then if after you read the book you want more, then the course is the next thing to jump into. And I've got a private Facebook group with that, Alistair. So I believe in daily motivation. So every day, some piece of motivation just to keep the concept alive.
And is that how people can get in touch with you? What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
GoForNo.com.
Okay.
Yeah. Or Twitter, as we talked, at
Yeah.
GoForNo.
Yeah. Well, I love. There's three practical things that jumped out at me. I'm not practicing no awareness, so that's the first thing I'm going to start doing. Actually, be conscious of how many no's I'm getting, how many no's I'm going after. I love that. I love the idea of a 7-day go for no challenge. 1 no a day feels like a minimum for me. And then, the hands-on nature of this, I thought it was fascinating. You talking about you can only really practice handling it when it happens, and so you have to put yourself in it. You have to go out there, take a risk in order to get better. I think those are three great things. So thank you very much for being our masterclass expert today, Andrea. It's been great.
Thank you so much. It was fun. Great questions.
Absolute pleasure. If anybody, goforno.com if you want to get in touch with Andrea. If you're keen to know about Revenue Coach or any of our products, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. We'll call it a day there. I'm going to go and start thinking about am I getting enough no's? And I will look out for your daily notivation as well, Andrea.
Thanks, Alistair.
Thanks very much for your time. We'll close it there now. Thanks again, Andrea. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.